All right, let's get right to the uncomfortable truth. We spend so much time worrying about artificial intelligence as this, this supervillain.
Right, the Skynet scenario.
Yeah.
Hacking the grid.
Exactly. Hacking the grid, launching the nukes, or, I don't know, at the very least, taking the CEO's job by making these perfect strategic decisions.
We're always looking up.
We're always looking up,
Yeah.
staring at the ceiling, wondering when the machine will crash through it.
Yeah.
But while we've been staring up, we haven't noticed the floor is being completely dismantled.
It's the classic magician's trick, isn't it? Misdirection. While we're all terrified about AI becoming super intelligent, it's actually just becoming competent enough.
And competent enough is all it takes.
It's all you need to replace, well, the entire bottom tier of the workforce.
And that is the terrifying premise of the article we are covering today.
Yeah.
We're doing a deep dive into the purpose problem, AI and South African youth employment by Johan Steyn. Now, Steyn he's a heavy hitter in the AI space, but this piece, it isn't really about neural networks or processing power. It's about people.
Absolutely. It's about what happens to a society when the on-ramp to adulthood, that first kind of crummy entry-level job, just gets deleted.
Deleted from the server.
It's a piece that sits right at the intersection of economics, technology, and what I would call existential risk, but not the sci-fi kind.
The humankind.
The humankind. Steyn is basically arguing that we're not just facing an unemployment crisis, we're staring down a dignity crisis.
So our mission today is to really unpack this purpose problem. We need to look at the hard data. And believe me, we have plenty of that from late 2025. But we also need to understand the social fallout. Because you young people can't get that first foothold on the ladder. We aren't just losing GDP. We're losing social cohesion. We're losing the very mechanism that turns teenagers into, functioning, invested adults.
And the context here is everything, we should say. It is January 2026. We're looking back at the economic landscape of late 2025. And honestly, the picture that emerged over the last 12 months is one of convergence. It's like two massive storm systems colliding.
Okay, let's map out that storm. Let's call it the double whammy.
I like that.
So storm system number one is the existing economic reality, particularly in developing markets. And we're using South Africa as our case study.
And storm system number two is the rapid, and I mean rapid, deployment of agentic AI in the workplace.
Let's start with that baseline.
You have to. You can't understand the severity of the AI impact without seeing how fragile the system was to begin with. We're looking at statistics, South Africa's quarterly labor force survey for Q3 2025.
And the headline number.
The official unemployment rate came in at 31.9%.
Wow. And just for our global listeners who might not track these numbers daily, 31.9% is, well, it's catastrophic. In many developed economies, 6% is considered a recessionary panic.
And that's the official number. The expanded definition, which includes discouraged work seekers, is significantly higher.
Of course.
But what Reuters pointed out in their analysis of this data is critical. They called it a structural fracture.
Okay, what does that mean, structural?
It means this isn't cyclical. It's not that the economy is just having a bad year and it'll bounce back. Structural means the economy, as it's currently designed, simply cannot absorb the number of people trying to enter it.
That distinction is so important. A cyclical problem is like a weather event. A structural problem is a geology event. The ground itself is broken.
And the people standing right on that fault line are the youth. They are consistently the ones on the outside looking in.
So you have this massive, eager, often educated group of young people who are just desperate for work. And
then you introduce the second storm system, the robot in the room.
Or maybe the algorithm in the HR department.
Exactly. I mean, in Davos just this month, January 2026, the IMF issued this warning that really should have been the headline everywhere.
Guardian covered it, right?
Yeah. They covered it extensively. The IMF explicitly stated that unlike previous industrial revolutions that hit manual labor, this AI disruption is targeting the entry-level, white-collar worker first.
See, this is what I find so insidious about it. We always assumed that, digital natives would be safe. They grew up with this stuff.
Right.
But just think about what a junior role actually is. I was thinking about my first job. I swear, 90% of my time was spent collating files, scheduling meetings, summarizing minutes, checking for typos.
In other words, you were doing rules-based, repeatable administration.
Yeah.
You were processing information. And that is the precise definition of what large language models and AI agents have perfected over the last couple of years.
But here's the nuance that Steyn brings up, and I think this is the real aha moment of the whole piece. Those tasks, the photocopying, the minutes, all that grunt work, they were never the point. They were the tuition.
That's the key. Steyn calls it the on-ramp. When you were sitting there summarizing those boring minutes, you were actually doing something else. You were listening to how the senior partners argued. You were seeing how a decision gets made. You were learning professional norms by osmosis. You were in the room.
And now the room is gone. Tech Central had this brilliant analysis. They called it role compression.
Role compression.
Yeah. If an AI can do the minutes and the scheduling, the company doesn't hire the junior anymore.
Yeah.
They just give the senior an AI assistant. The task gets done faster, sure, but the learning role just vanishes.
It creates a broken ladder. Imagine a law firm or a marketing agency today in 2026. Historically, they'd hire 5 juniors. Maybe 2 would rise to be associates. 1 becomes a partner eventually.
A pipeline.
A pipeline. Now, they hire 1 super junior who knows how to prompt the AI, or they hire 0 juniors and just have the mid-level staff use the tools. The bottom rung of the ladder is just sawed off.
So where do the other 4 people go? That's the multi-million-dollar question. They don't just disappear.
They enter what Steyn describes as a holding pattern. And this is where the economic problem metastasizes into the purpose problem. We have to pivot here from economics to, well, psychology.
Because the damage isn't just to their bank accounts.
Not at all.
This part of the article really hit me hard. Steyn argues that work provides the scaffolding for our entire identity. It gives you structure somewhere to be at 9 a.m. It gives you community, people to complain about the boss with. But most importantly, it provides a sense of being needed.
We underestimate that need. When you have a job, even a bad one, you know that your absence would be noticed. You are part of a mechanism. When you are structurally excluded from the workforce, society is effectively telling you, we do not need you. The machine runs fine without you.
That is just a devastating message to receive when you're 22 years old. You've done the schooling, you've followed all the rules, and you arrive at the gate only to find it's been bricked over.
And we are seeing the clinical fallout of that rejection. There was a feature in IOL late last year that drew a direct line between this specific type of youth unemployment and a huge spike in severe anxiety and depression.
It's not just being sad.
No, it's a profound loss of agency, a sense of hopelessness.
And the IOL report mentioned how this just ripples through families. It's not an isolated person suffering. It changes the whole dynamic of the household.
Right.
If the 25-year-old is still dependent, still waiting, still invisible, it creates what you call the dignity vacuum.
That term dignity vacuum is the core of it. When you strip away the ability for people to contribute, you create a volatile society. People need to feel that they matter. And if the economy won't give them a way to matter,
They might look for it in other less constructive places.
Exactly. Political extremism, crime, or just total withdrawal.
It's a bleak picture. You have this double whammy of high unemployment and AI automation leading to the dignity vacuum. But Steyn doesn't just write an obituary for the workforce. He pivots to what he calls the solution space.
Right.
And he's pretty aggressive that we can't just wait for the market to fix this.
No, because the market is fixing it for the shareholders by cutting costs with AI. The market won't solve the human problem on its own. Steyn argues for what he calls deliberate design.
And that starts with policy?
It starts with the policy shift, yeah. Moving from talking about jobs to talking about pathways.
Okay, help me parse that distinction. We're so used to politicians promising jobs, jobs, jobs. Why is pathways different?
A job implies a destination, a contract, a salary, a title. A pathway, on the other hand, is a mechanism for transit.
For movement.
For movement. Steyn suggests that if the private sector isn't building that on-ramp anymore, then the public and nonprofit sectors must. We're talking about a massive scaling of apprenticeships, learnerships, community-based service programs.
So essentially, we need to artificially reconstruct that learning by osmosis phase that the private sector is now automating away.
Artificial or not, it's necessary. Imagine a service year where young people work in their communities, and not just busy work, but digitized, organized service that actually builds a CV.
Okay.
Even if it's not a corporate job, it provides the structure, the network, and the dignity of contribution. It keeps them warm for the economy instead of letting them freeze out in the cold.
But this can't all be on the government.
Yeah.
Steyn throws a pretty heavy gauntlet down for the business community, too. He uses this phrase I love: automation decisions are social decisions.
This is the part that usually makes business leaders really uncomfortable.
I bet.
The standard line is, my fiduciary duty is to my shareholders. If AI is cheaper, I have to use AI. Steyn challenges that. He's asking, if you destroy your entry-level pipeline today to save money, where do you think your senior managers are going to come from in 10 years?
It's the eating your own seed corn problem.
Precisely. The World Economic Forum, IT Web, they've all covered this tension. The sustainable approach isn't to ban AI, it's to redesign the junior role.
How so?
Instead of firing the junior, you have to upskill them immediately to be the pilot of the AI.
Pilot, not passenger. I like that. So instead of a junior lawyer reading contracts for typos,
they are taught how to prompt an AI to review contracts, and their new job becomes evaluating the AI's output, which is actually a much higher level skill.
it requires critical thinking.
Exactly. So companies need to invest more in training juniors, not less. They have to bridge that gap between know-nothing graduate and AI supervisor. If they don't, they'll find themselves with a top-heavy organization and no fresh blood.
There's a third pillar to this solution space, and this one. This one hits home for anyone raising kids right now.
Yeah.
Parenting and education. Stan suggests we are setting our kids up for failure if we keep giving them the advice that worked for us back in, say, 2005.
Get good grades, get a degree, get a safe job. That script is obsolete.
Why?
Because the safe job is the one AI eats first. It's predictable. Stan suggests we need to focus on teaching agency.
We hear that word a lot in tech circles. Agentic AI. But what does agency look like when you apply it to kids?
It means raising children who see themselves as problem solvers, not instruction followers. In a world with AI, following instructions is a commodity. The machine does it better.
But agency.
Agency is the ability to look at a messy, unstructured situation and figure out what to do next. It's resilience. It's the ability to pivot.
So we need to stop teaching them to be encyclopedias because they have one in their pocket and start teaching them to be investigators.
And maybe most importantly, we need to decouple their self-worth from their job title.
That's a huge one.
Steyn touches on this, and it's profound. If we raise a generation to believe their only value comes from a traditional paycheck and then that market becomes incredibly volatile, we are setting them up for a massive mental health crisis. We have to broaden the definition of success.
To include things like community contribution or creative output.
Adaptability itself, that is a massive cultural shift. You're asking parents to undo generations of programming that says doctor, lawyer, engineer equals worthy human.
But we don't really have a choice, do we?
We don't. The tasks of a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer are all changing. If a kid's identity is rigid, they will break. If their identity is fluid and resilient, they can adapt to the tools.
Okay, let's try to synthesize this. We've covered a lot of ground. It's January 2026. The double whammy of structural unemployment and AI automation is hitting young people the hardest.
Creating what we called the broken ladder. The bottom rungs are gone, stopping them from even starting the climb.
Which then triggers the purpose problem, a crisis of dignity and mental health that threatens social stability.
And the only way out is this idea of deliberate design. Policymakers have to build new pathways.
Businesses have to protect their talent pipeline.
And parents have to teach agency over obedience.
Stan's closing sentiment really stuck with me. He says that in a world where machines do more, the human job is to build a society where people still feel needed.
That's the mission statement right there. The economy is a construct. We made it up. If the current version of the economy decides it doesn't need people, we have to edit the construct. We can't just discard the people.
This brings me to the thought I really want to leave our listeners with today. And it's a bit of a provocative one, so bear with me.
Okay.
We've spent this whole time talking about how to get people into jobs, how to fix the ladder. But looking at the speed of this AI adoption, what if the ladder is gone for good? If traditional 9-to-5 labor is no longer the primary mechanism for distributing dignity in our society, what replaces it?
That is the ultimate question. If you are not your job, then who are you?
Exactly. Can we invent a new way to be an adult? Can we create a society where a young person feels needed and worthy based on their contribution to their community, their art, their care for others, and have that actually be respected? Or are we just going to keep banging on the door of a factory that's run by robots, begging to be let in?
We have to answer that.
Yeah.
Because the robots are not going to answer it for us.
A heavy question, but a necessary one. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us into the purpose problem. It's complicated, it's urgent, and it's about a lot more than just the unemployment rate.
It was a pleasure. Let's hope we start building those pathways.
Indeed. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.